How's it going, y'all? Welcome back to the Gear Vault. Today in the vault, we're talking the BOG Death Grip Tripod. Now at this point, I don't think any introduction is needed for the BOG Death Grip. This has to be the most popular tripod on the market, at least in America. I see these things all over the place. I don't know how many models of the Death Grip they have now, but it has to be a ton. Today we're talking about the OG. This is the standard, just aluminum tripod. Not the most lightweight, but it's also not the most expensive, and I like that. Now I have used this tripod quite a bit. And in doing that, I found some pros and some cons, and I want to talk to you about those today. Let's start with the pros. In my opinion, one of the best things about this tripod and this style of tripod is the fact that it's kind of hands-free in that it clamps your rifle in, and you can actually just stand there or sit there and not have to worry about having your gun, in your lap and then moving it to it, or having your gun setting in there and then, just having to hold it. Like, it will truly just hold your gun there. If you've not seen this, so basically you set your gun in here in this cradle. This is a padded area, but it does have some rubber tackiness, kind of grippiness to it. You're gonna spin this and tighten it up. Clamp it down on the side of your rifle. So you do have your adjustment here, as well as rotation here. So what I like to do is obviously clamp the rifle in pretty tight, and then for all the other, have it just tight enough that you can still move it, but whenever you let go, it holds the rifle steady. Same with the pivot, just tight enough to where it doesn't move, it doesn't swing around, but if you want it to move, you can. And so basically, if you get it just right, you can actually have your rifle in there and have a full range of motion, but whenever you let go, it will hold your rifle steady. I feel like if you're a varmint hunter, this is the ultimate setup, right? Hands off, you can use your binoculars, you can use your calls, but as soon as you get something in your sights, you're coming into your call, it's just as simple as grabbing your gun and then putting it on your target. Another pro of this tripod is the adjustability. So obviously you have the adjustability within the legs. So you're gonna actually open these up and they'll extend just like any other tripod does, just like what you would expect. And when you get it where you want it, you just clamp it back down, and it does hold really well. But another really cool adjustment on these is the actual angle of these legs. So each leg actually has these little sliders, and they're marked 85, 45, and 20. So basically, from all the way down here, you set this thing to 20, it goes out to 20 degrees, and that's as far as it goes. Or 45, goes out to a 45-degree angle as you would expect, and then finally 85 goes out, and basically this thing will lay flat. So if you were shooting prone or just in some really difficult terrain, you can set this thing up for just about any type of scenario that you would encounter. It's really adjustable in that sense, and I like that. I've seen some tripods that this feature would be a tightening knob, and that's fine, but I like how this is just, you set it and it's not gonna go any farther. You don't have to rely on tension to hold it there. It will not go. The last thing as far as adjustability goes is the actual feet. So what you may notice is that you have these rubber feet on here, and you can thread that in, and when you do that, you're going to reveal a little metal spike. So depending on the type of terrain you're in, if you're in dirt or some soft stuff, you can thread that in. That little pokey spike is going to dig right in and keep it nice and solid. Otherwise, if you're in rock or you're using it at a range on concrete or whatever it may be, you thread that out, and it's just going to be that rubber stopper that's going to have some tackiness and keep everything from sliding around, which is really cool. The last pro, if you will, is just the stability. That's the whole purpose of a tripod, is to get more stable. I've shot off of a lot of tripods and sticks that the stability just wasn't quite there. And that being the case, you just don't really use them. But now I will say, this tripod will make you stable. I've personally shot off of this tripod at 300 yards with no issue whatsoever. It feels nearly as stable as shooting off of a bench. The nice thing is all of the weight and stability comes from the tripod, so you can actually take a pretty lightweight rifle and have just as much stability as you would with a heavy rifle, or at least that's been my experience. I shot a X-Bolt Hell's Canyon Speed off of this thing, and it felt just as stable as shooting like the Bergara Squared Crest. And you know, there's almost like a £1.5 difference in those guns, and it felt the same. Like, stability was exactly the same. So I think that from a stability standpoint, which is why you buy a tripod, that is honestly top notch in this tripod. And I do want to talk really fast about like warranty and customer service, because that is going to fall under the pro section of this video. I did have a clamp break on me. Basically what had happened was it was in freezing, and I mean like 10 below zero freezing temperatures. I had this opened, one of these legs, and basically what happens is you can thread it out and change the tension. Well, I had it spun around like one revolution too tight. When I went to clamp it down, the plastic, which the clamp itself is kind of a polymer, so that was, I'm guessing, brittle from the cold. It pulled the nut through it, rendering the whole thing kind of useless because the one leg had no tension whatsoever. So I was completely out of commission. However, I did reach out to Bog, and I want to say I actually reached out via Instagram, told them what the deal was. They said, hey, here's the email address. Send an email, explain what happened. I did that, and within, I want to say like 2 weeks, I had the correct parts in to fix that. There's a couple different sizes within this system, and maybe I didn't do a good job of explaining which one it was, or maybe they just have these things batched up ready to rock and roll because that's something that happens, I don't know. But in any case, they sent me a couple different parts, but one of them was the one I needed, so popped that on there, and it took about 5 minutes and it was back in action. So now let's get into the cons and or the negatives of this setup. First is the pivot is a little bit rough. It's not smooth at all, honestly. So up and down, that's actually pretty smooth, but as you pivot around, it feels like it's like on a ridge or something. Like, loosen it up and it still feels the same. So I don't know what's going on in there, but it's just not smooth. So if you can imagine just slowly panning your rifle around, it's really not possible to stay perfectly smooth and steady. Like, if you wanted to try to use this as like a head for like a video camera, it'd be completely impossible. Like, it's just too jumpy, it's not smooth at all. Now, that being said, I think that for most people's purposes, you're not gonna be panning and trying to make a precision shot. You're gonna, you have an animal that's running, you spin it around, it stops, you stop, and you fire. So not a huge deal, but it is a little bit rough on just the pivot and motion in general. The only other negative, and honestly, this is a big negative to me, and in a way it's a positive, I understand, but it's the weight. And the weight is gonna help it be more stable, I get that, but it is heavy. I mean, it's heavier than the rifles that I'm carrying around to put in it, it's like 8 pounds. I just wanted to confirm because someone would correct me if it was less, but it's actually 8.5 pounds. I haven't owned an 8.5 pound rifle in I don't know how many years. That's the reason being is because I just like carrying 6 pound rifles or 7 pound rifles. The last few hunting rifles I've had, even loaded up with a scope and everything on them, haven't been 8.5 pounds. So the weight is substantial. Again, it makes it more stable, I get that. But if you have to walk very far with this on your back, you are gonna notice it. It takes up a lot of space, it's gonna weigh you down, it's heavy. When you get where you're going, you're gonna love it. But just keep in mind that this thing is heavy. Now, they make this same tripod in carbon fiber. However, it's a lot more expensive. And speaking of price, just looking at Bog's website right now, which is boghunt.com, they're running a sale. This tripod is marked down to $170, and if you jump to the carbon fiber, you're up to $280. So over $100 more to go up to carbon fiber to get a lightweight setup. Now, Are you gonna lose stability when you go to the lighter tripod? I don't know, maybe. You're certainly gonna save on weight, but another $100, like in my opinion, $180 is more than enough for me, you know? Couple $100, 250 at most, that's all I'm gonna spend on a tripod. I know some of those tripods out there can get really, really expensive. And if you're doing a lot of like nighttime hunting, a lot of predator hunting, I get it, you know, hobbies are expensive, and if that's your thing, go for it. I don't shoot enough off of a tripod to justify it, but from what I've seen, this thing is about as much as I would want to spend. But it's also more weight than I really want to carry. So in 2025, or whenever you're watching this, is the Bog Death Grip worth purchasing? I think it just depends on your preferences. If you are the kind of person that needs to shoot off of a tripod quite often, I'm sure it's fine. Just keep in mind it is going to be heavy. If you are just looking for a little bit of extra stability, but that weight and bulkiness of this is something that's going to bother you, I would probably say save your money and get something like this Vanguard bipod. This is the Vanguard Quest B38, and super lightweight. I slide it into like my drink pouch on the side of my backpack, or sometimes in my backpack because it will fit in there. It's super small, but I will say that I have killed more animals off of this bipod than this tripod. I mean, far and away. The reason is that if I'm in an area where I think that I'm gonna need a little bit of height or a little bit of extra stability, and when I say height, I mean more than like what a backpack would offer me, because otherwise I would just use that. But like if I think I'm gonna need to be getting up over top of some grass, or just need extra height, extra stability for whatever reason, I will always have this with me. It fits just about anywhere I need it to fit. It doesn't weigh hardly anything. It gives me enough stability to be able to shoot decent ranges. For example, just this past fall, I took an antelope at 390 yards with a 16-inch barreled 308 Ruger American off of this bipod. The stability was plenty. Now, would I have been more stable with this? Probably, but I can tell you with confidence that where I was at when I killed that antelope, I would have never packed this tripod in. So just something to keep in mind. So there you have it, guys. Some pros and cons of the Bog Death Grip in the aluminum version. Hope you liked this video. If you did, hit like. Let me know in the comment section if you've ever used this one, or if there's a better option out there in your opinion. As always, I'll try to throw a link down below. May or may not be an affiliate link. It's just a link just so y'all can find what I'm talking about a little bit more easily. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. I would appreciate it. If you watched the full length of this video, I definitely appreciate it. Hit me up on Instagram at The Gear Vault or The Gear Vault Podcast. Find my personal at Redneck and Fargo if you want to just see what's going on in my personal life. Till next time, y'all be safe.